So anyone got any questions or anything? Because we're really, this is the 6th meeting.
Yep.
So I would like to do another one, even potentially another 2. That'll just depend on who wants to do that, if anybody wants to do that. So I suppose I want to check in tonight and just see where everyone's at and how it's been, and are you going to keep it? Are you going to ditch it? And how, just really that thing, have you gained enough value that you are going to implement it into your life? And of course, no is an okay answer too. It doesn't have to be yes.
If I can go first,
Yeah.
I probably will. I actually won a meat pack at the cricket club Saturday night, and I looked at all the rissoles and sausages and bacon, and after watching that Cowspiracy and there was another one, What the Health, I ended up giving it away. I just mainly bought the tickets to support the club.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm finding with my running that my recovery is probably better, so I'm happy with my weight has stabilised now. I'm probably about 4.5 to 5 kilos lighter than I was. My cholesterol's gone from 5.1 to, on the bloods, was 3.6.
Wow, that's that's great.
Not that it was high anyway, but so performance-wise, diet-wise, and food-wise, I'm enjoying cooking the food and not missing meat at all. So I still like my yogurt, which is giving me B12 as well without supplements. So,
is it fortified with B12?
Mandela, just the vanilla yogurt.
Yeah.
So I'm having like the Game Changers oats, the seeds and all that for breakfast, and then just a bit of yogurt and honey on that, and that's doing the same job I used to do with 5 or 6 Weet Bix dairy, cow's milk yogurt and fresh berries. So, so for me, there's certainly I'm definitely getting a benefit out of it, I think.
That's great. And are you enjoying being lighter?
Oh, definitely,
yeah. And are you finding that's benefiting with your performance as well, like just being that 4 odd kilos lighter?
Yeah, well, I'm basically down at what I would consider to be my marathon racing.
Wow, okay.
And now I did drop below 68 at one point, but now I've managed to sort of get it up in the 69 to 70 kilos range.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. And that was just bringing in those more fats and eating more, was it, Jim?
Yeah, and sort of going on to sort of the Turkish bread loaves rather than wraps.
Yeah, so just putting more food in,
more bread, larger portions.
Have you tried the bread? Yeah, or one, are you interested in trying to make it yourself? Have you got the time to do that?
I've got a bread maker.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but I haven't. I'll probably do that in winter when work slows down a little bit and play around with a lot of other things. Yeah. I tried that the vegan cheese recipe on Saturday night, and that was really. I actually preferred it to cheese.
I have it on every meal. I don't put it in my. I just tip it on all my. Not on every meal. I don't put it on my oats, but I have it on every. It's just yummy. You can put that in soups as well, Jim. Stews. It gives it the real nice fatty feel in your mouth.
Yeah. Smooth. Yeah, no, it was really nice. I just bought the little mini pita breads from IGA while I had some left, and just did that with mushrooms and capsicum, and really nice. I'm getting through a heap of mushrooms, I can tell you that. Yeah, good. So it'd be nice on those, just instead of ricotta or something, just drizzle it over baked mushrooms or something. So yeah, just playing around with all sorts of different things.
Yeah, well, that's good because I also we have that the cream sauce, the cashew nut sauce can be used on so many things, but on, like you're saying, baked spuds or baked sweet potato with baked chickpeas, and then drizzle that on top as well is nice as well.
Yeah. Oh, one other question while I think about it. At the information night, we got given 2 packets. One was like a breakfast cereal packet.
Yeah.
The other one, what was that one?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It was a soup packet, so I'll write it down. You can order that as it is from Two Brothers.
Oh, okay. No, it's still in my pantry. I haven't used it because I didn't know what to do with it.
Oh, it's soup.
Okay. Yeah.
It's soup. Yeah.
The recipe, the actual preparation, the recipe is on the website. So Christy will just make sure she's got the right name of the soup, and then we can tell you which one it is because it's actually got a link going straight on the website about how to prepare it. So
I'll forward that in the follow-up from this.
Oh, that'll go nice when the weather cools down.
Yeah. I just made minestrone today, so that was pretty nice, being cooler and everything. So it was good.
how's the body holding up, Jim?
Yeah, pretty good. Like I was saying to Christy Lee, the weight's sort of stabilised now. Dropped off quite rapidly. I'm probably 5 kilos lighter than I was, which is good for running and recovery. But having to eat quite a bit to maintain that.
Yep.
And even my daughter sort of commented, she put both her little hands around my bicep and said, "Oh, I could never do that before."
And as far as inflammation and stuff that has troubled you in the past, how have you found that?
It's more recovery. I don't feel after a long run as tired for as long.
Good. Yep.
I think part of that might be not carrying the extra 5 kilos at this point in my training. But also, do feel a lot lighter in the guts and a lot lighter in the body. So I think recovery-wise, it's actually benefiting.
Yeah. Are you having turmeric, Jim? Have you tried that?
No, I usually have a turmeric tea in winter at night.
Okay.
But other than a bit of cumin or turmeric in hummus, adding a little bit to hummus, that's about it.
So I've found since Christy's been adding the turmeric and the black pepper to my meals, I'm having it every day. The inflammation, because I've got a couple of old rugby injuries. Like I'm squatting now, like I've got a sissy bar at the gym where I usually can't get my arms behind, and it's been well over 2 years since I've been able to do that. Now I'm squatting with the straight bar, no problem at all. So as far as inflammation and stuff goes, it's really, dramatically changes. Like you can see it in a week, so because
the little ones in the glass jar. And all it is, Jim, is the only place that I'm currently aware that have it, or everyone, is the Spud Shed. It's really cheap, and Pals is going to grab a piece, and it's just like a 1/4 inch. Like it's the size of your little pinky. And I just put it on Pal's food, and he just chomps it up in his food. Yeah. I just follow it.
Corner on the weekend.
Yeah, it may well be, and it's just every day. Just put it if you can or want to put it in your routine. It definitely makes a massive difference. And then there's I was going to say a shitload, but I thought that's not probably appropriate. But I've already said it now. There's a shitload of benefits that come along with it as well. So just in case, can you guys see that turmeric? Almost looks like a little bird poo. So, I just have it skin and all, so I would just chop the smallest amount, just a tiny bit off, chop that in half, and I'd swallow one and give the other half to Power. So it's tiny. And you can actually buy it in one go, chop it all up and put it in the freezer. Okay. So whereas if you buy it supplement-wise or tea-wise, it's pricey. Yeah. And it's not as good because when, as with most or almost all supplements, they pull the curcumin out of the turmeric. So that's with the assumption that it's only the curcumin that makes the benefit, not hundreds of other vitamins and minerals that are in that plant, yeah?
Mhm.
And if you're having it, have black pepper with it.
Okay.
Just to check in, guys, are you suggesting turmeric and black pepper for inflammation or for everybody every day?
For both. Both. I'll put some reading on there for you tomorrow when I do the email. It has, there's some, I don't know what it, well, they don't know what it is for cancer, for inflammation, for autoimmune disease. It's just they're using it now for so many things. So, and it's huge in the cancer treatment department as well. So like as an example, for people who are going through chemo, they're now using turmeric to lighten the load on them or lighten the effects of that, of whatever you call it.
Yeah,
Chemo. So yeah, I would definitely, I mean, that's almost just something that I think is could be a blanket for everyone. It's a really cheap, inexpensive way to do it if you stay away from supplements. Yeah, yeah. So how about you, Will? Have you finished Max first?
Jim.
Sorry, Jim.
Yep. No, not much more.
You're good. That's good. How about you, Will? Where are you at with it?
Yeah, just quickly, Jim, what kind of time are you running your marathons in, out of interest?
Well, depending on what goes ahead, because they're all getting cancelled.
I know, but I mean, like, what would you consider a good running time for a marathon that you do? How long does it take you to complete one?
Can you say it like in kilometres?
Hours. I was thinking hours, like a 42-kilometer marathon.
Yeah, same.
5 hours, 4 hours.
But my PB at the moment is 3 hours 22. And that was set in 2014, so that was 6 years ago. My training times at the moment put me on, if Gold Coast Marathon goes ahead, I'll be shooting for below 3:20.
I was going to say, you've got to run because you've got to see if you can beat your PB. Can't you just do it anyway?
But it's not official.
It doesn't matter. We can be there.
So if Gold Coast doesn't go ahead, the fallback will probably be Perth. But it just depends how long, because Gold Coast is not till July, so that's still 16 weeks or something away, quite a way away. So it's hard to maintain the training load, so there'll have to be a little bit of a drop off and then a build.
Back up again, yeah.
So if that fails, it's probably going to be Perth in September or October.
Yeah.
Is a longer time off to maintain, so there'll be a lot of
yeah.
So yeah, but I was having a conversation with my running coach, and we both reckon that I'm on PB form at the moment.
That's pretty cool.
Considering you're 6 years older and
yeah, well, I'll be 54 then too. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Did that answer your question, Will? Did it make you run faster in the morning, will it?
That's it.
It's about just under 4 minutes 40 per kilometre.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on my push bike. Okay. So, Will, how are you going? How do you think? Will you or how?
Yeah, look, I think essentially I kind of signed up for the program for the whole nutrition and education. I can see the benefits. Like, you've provided a lot of the resources, the books, and et cetera, and everything I was finding that was all the documentaries and bits and pieces I was looking at for quite a while was kind of pointing me in this general direction. Like for me, like I've got a kind of a vision and mission statement written, and my one on health is talking about implement the best practice available at the time. So I haven't specified eat meat or don't eat meat. It's just that's kind of my approach to the future. Because tomorrow they might say do something different. So right now, everything it looks to back up what you're talking about with. So I can see the absolute benefits. I definitely think I need to improve my recipes and cooking and all that. So my dinners aren't really that I'm not that used to doing it this way, so I really need to improve that. But I was never, I suppose, a great cook anyway. That's an easy thing to fix.
Would you like to be able to cook better?
Oh, I can. It's just understand what's meant to be on my plate.
Yeah.
So I was able to cook fine previously. The previous configuration of XYZ sitting on it. It's not like drop out the meat, like lentils and all that. Like realistically, I'm only learning about lentils this year.
Yeah.
Like, so that's where I'm coming from. It's like, what the heck is a lentil? And beans, I was like, oh, beans can come in a form that's not in a can. So
yeah. And I reckon, I mean, and I love to cook. I reckon it really, probably realistically took me 18 months to really start to feel comfortable in it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Like basically I'm relearning how to cook, like how to rebalance that plate. So it's kind of, you can't just take one thing out, put another thing in, you're almost back from the foundation and build it up. But I think the cheat, let's say your 1 day diet, like that cheat, which is simple things like the sunflower seeds, they're such simple things. Well, they're not simple. To come across the answer why they should be in, that could take 10 years, but we've got a big jump start on it that way. So that's a big help.
Yeah, and I think like you were just making comment too then was that to make a balanced plate, whereas before I ate this way, and that's too what I'm meaning. I think it took me quite a long period of time. First, maybe I spent most of the time just learning how to cook the food, and then once I felt comfortable with that, then I started to actually look at it a bit more and go, okay, what's in it and what do I need to bring, what can I bring to it to easily bring to it to add to it. And then, of course, that's the seeds and the turmeric and the vitamin B12. And so, maybe once I got out of the haze of, oh, my God, like you're saying, what's a lentil and beans and all of that jive. And it took me a long time to drop the need for protein. So it took me a bit to actually be able to let that go and not try to eat too many beans and such.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but last week you were making a tomato-y base thing, lentil.
Yeah.
So there's a few things, and I'll put it in the email, there's a few recipes that I make that then themselves, so there's like a tomato lentil, so there's a tomato lentil base, that then turns into 5-6 different dishes.
Oh, yeah.
So that base, it's almost like I have one curry base that does all of my curries. So that could be a red curry, a yellow curry, just a lentil curry, a soup. So it then, if I thicken it up, if I make it so it's a bit thicker, it can then be pies, sausage rolls. So it's the same one base. It's same as the tomato. So the one tomato base, I can then make that into a soup or a lentil dish or a bean dish. So it's quite... So there's so many, or like lasagna, like Powers is saying, lasagna, meatloaf. And then again, that meatloaf can turn into sausages. It can turn into sausage rolls, pies. Yeah,
so simple as putting it on a pasta and turning it into a spaghetti pasta, all these things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, and because you've got the curry base, you then again can swap it up by using different beans, different lentils, different veggies. Yeah, so like I was saying, I make like a lentil loaf, and that lentil loaf is it's a lentil loaf, and then I put like a sauce on the top, and then that gets turned into a shepherd's pie, either with sweet potato on the top or mashed potato on the top. And then that gets turned into sausage rolls or sausages or such like that. So that so you really only need to find yourself a couple of basic things, and then you can turn that into many, many more different meals than if it had been meat. Yeah,
very good. Yeah, that sounds good, because I'm all about the, kind of batch cooking, let's say. For that.
Yeah. So like in the freezer at the moment, I've got in a quite large-ish potato, so enough to feed all of us a meal, and then Powers lunch the next day. I've got probably 8 of those tomato dishes, and I can pull them out, like Powers said, I could put it on 5 or 6 different dishes. So it's quite, so there's so many, like lasagna, like Powers is saying, lasagna, meatloaf. So rice or any grain, or I can make it into a lasagna. I can, on pasta, there's just so much you can do with it.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, and like Jim tried the cashew nut dressing, so that too, Jim, you can turn that into different flavours. So I predominantly have it as just that, or I can make it into a Thai flavour or a Mexican flavour. So you don't need a huge amount of recipes. You just need some base ones, and then you just add and swap them.
Cool.
So, yeah, so maybe even I'll share with you my bases and tell you what I do with them, and then we can just go back and forth with there.
Sounds good.
Because the lentil loaf, if you guys haven't made the lentil loaf, I would highly recommend it. It's a really good, the recipe's on the website. You've just got to make sure that you don't make it too wet. But even if you did make it wet, then you might just add some more oat flour to it.
Okay, yeah.
And with the oat flour, I just get the oats out and zip it all up myself. So you're not buying, because you'll pay more for oat flour if best making it.
Okay. Yeah, easy.
Yep, so try that. I would, really say try that one, because that's good. I think it's good. So.
And on the topic of bread then, what do you use for a butter substitute, or maybe even delete the name butter? Like, what do you use for a spread, or how do you normally eat bread now?
For a long time, we ate Nuttalex, and we still have it in the fridge. So, and
Isn't that an oil-based butter, though, isn't it?
Yep. That's a soy. So, I mean, that would be, if I had to pick one product that I buy that I don't want to buy, it would be the Nuttalex.
Yeah.
That or tomato sauce.
I was looking at the ingredients and listening to you recently, and I bought it and I was using it. I was like, I looked at the ingredients, I put it back, I put it in the bin.
Yeah, it's bin worthy. There's no doubt about that. Now I use avocado. It took me a bit to actually drop the bread and butter. So it was the bread and butter and the Vegemite that it was that combination that I was stuck on for ages. And then I actually set a goal with myself and went, I want to put the Nuttalex aside. So, and then that I was able to do that. So that's really cool. And now you could use hummus. So any sort of hummus or bean base, avocado is. So I will now have toast or bread with avocado and Vegemite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's now I can't taste the difference.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I could see avocado working for sure.
Yeah, so that's a really good one. Otherwise, you can make. I'll have a think and try to source up some stuff. But all in all, and this is of course just my personal choice, I looked at my whole diet and I went, if once or twice a week I'm having a light slather of Nuttalex on my bread, I didn't think that was worthy of making too much out of it.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, I think that's the kind of the whole food plant-based kind of term. It's not vegan. Like it's, go about all your things. And if we trip up, continue on. Like I'm actually, a big thing I'm struggling with is like my wife is totally not on board with this. So she's like, can we get some normal food with meat in it, like a pizza or something? I'm like, God. So I'm kind of having to struggle on with that for the moment. But yeah. Good
luck with that. Yeah, it's and it's like anything, I suppose. I liken it to if you got a couple and one stops smoking. You know, it's a real kudos to the other person if they can continue through and actually give up the cigarettes and not fall back. It's just, I liken it to that because it's very much the same now. You know, so good on you for being able to stick out this one because it is difficult. You know, so
yeah.
And I mean, and if like I didn't think Powers would do it. I wasn't, but so in my mind, I just went, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'll just continue doing what Powers was doing. And I mean, because I happened to be there, I prepare the food at home. I was just going to make the base, the whole food, the plant base, and then if you wanted meat, I was just going to put the meat on the top. Give it
And when I did it, she got the shits of me.
I wasn't ready. I was like,
what are we going to eat?
I was like, oh my God, how do I cook lentils for this guy? So, but it's, What was I going to say? Doesn't matter, it'll come back. How about you, Max?
Yeah, it's been good.
Oh, you can see the difference in your face.
What's that?
Your face looks
What's wrong with
slimmer.
it?
Nothing
Oh,
wrong with it.
not that much slimmer. Oh, no, sorry. Hey. Well, right. Yeah, no, I've been okay. Tracy, I'm on the thing.
Just been in a deep state of relaxation.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
He's not relaxed anymore.
No.
Is he having a bad day?
No, that's right. No, it's been pretty good. Just helps keep it, yeah, just feel a lot better with the diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's been
Because
good.
this is your second crack around, really, isn't it? Or you've done it before, so how are you finding it now for the next time around? Been a bit easier, or?
Yeah, a bit easier, but I just know, like, lately I've been a bit busy with a lot of other things, so it's not 100%, but just keeping to it, it's been good. You know, I've been a bit stressed, but it's body's working okay. That's not letting me down, so it's good. You know, sometimes before you get stressed, you know, you just, yeah, just everything goes bad, but it's been okay.
Good.
So I feel the benefits, you know, recovery, work, do the weights, and, you know, feel good after it.
Yeah. And are you feeling, because I know Tracy changed your food up a bit, so are you feeling not as full now, not as stuffed?
Yeah, once the calories numbers dropped, it just feel a lot better with it.
Good, yeah. That's
My
good.
weight will probably start to come down a bit as well, because before
Yeah.
it's just staying.
Yeah, because that's only been, what, maybe 3 days that you've those dropped those calories back, that amount? Yeah, cool. Oh, that's good.
No. And that was, what, 400 calories dropping, which is...
It's a fair amount of food.
Yeah, it's funny though. 400 calories the old way I used to eat isn't a great amount of food, but when you take 400 calories out of the whole food, it's a lot of food. That's you know, you can really make up, you know, a lot of food out of 400.
It's really like nearly 20% of the calories are going close to it, and you know, you're gonna see some changes with that anyway.
Yeah.
Energy levels are still good.
Pardon?
Energy levels are still being fine.
Yeah. So
Cool.
That's been good.
That's good. Tonight, what about measuring? I know we talked about measuring before. Any of you guys, I know, Jim, you measure. Will, do you have any sort of measuring that you...
Look, historically, I've been measuring myself at least once a year and recording that. I'm due for another measurement, really coming through this program. I'm due for one since Sunday, actually. I just haven't gotten around to it. So I'll be on a measurement in the next week.
Yeah.
So I normally do weights, my weights measurement, all the various arms and legs.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, cool. That'll be interesting to hear how you've gone.
Because everyone's due too for a re-weigh in and all the rest of it too, so I've got to sort that out and probably try and get that done maybe next week before whatever happens, if it's going to happen next week or the week after, get those sort of figures done as well.
Yep.
That'll be good. I'll reach out via email and we can work that out, getting people in.
Cool. Something that I did want to mention in case you're interested, which I think it's important regardless of what's going on with all the coronavirus, is a really easy way to add vitamin C to your diet is as simple as adding 1 orange.
So I do that every day. I love them.
Yeah, good. So orange. So women require, or the current recommendation is 70 for women and 90 for men. So, and 1 orange on average, of course, because every orange will be slightly different. But 1 orange on average is 70 milligrams of vitamin C. So you're pretty much, if you're having a whole food diet and you're eating an orange a day, especially through the flu season, that's a really good way just to really boost your vitamin C rather than needing to have a supplement. And a lot of the supplements are you're taking too much, so then you pee it out in it, and again, it's not balanced with others. So that might be something that you might want to add into your diet. Also, if you don't, eating a little bit of the rind is probably a good thing to do. A little bit of the skin. You don't need much, but just a little bit of the skin, because that's really high in nutrients as well.
What's a bit? Is it like a 20-cent piece?
Good question. Yeah, I reckon it's... I reckon mine, no more. I reckon I'd eat probably 20-cent piece, 10-cent piece, 20-cent piece. It's not a lot. Yeah. You don't need a lot, because the vitamin C level apparently in the skin is like 300 times more.
Of course.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, than in the fruit. So you don't need a lot. So even if you're having in a smoothie, you can just chuck it in, but just eat a bit.
So are you recommending to eat the rind because it's got other stuff, or is it because of the dense vitamin C?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
It's nice too, Ryan, if you just if you're having a salad, you can actually grate it onto your salad, so it'll be quite fine, and then mix it through and gives a real orangey taste through that. Yeah. And
that you can also do that with the nut dressing if you wanted to use that, or if you want. I don't think we've talked about it. If you're not inclined to have the nut dressing for whatever reason, you can just make up a dressing, and if you don't want to use olive oil, you can use a product called xanthium gum. It is a product, yes. So it's a powdered gum, and you need probably to make a litre of dressing, you probably need like half a teaspoon.
From plants.
It's not supposedly at this point in time not toxic. Yeah, so it's similar to corn flour thickener.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's a similar. I'll pop that in there as well. So that's another way that you can make lots of different flavored dressings for your vegetables or for your fruits. So, anyone got any questions? Anything they need? You need?
I'm pretty happy with the information that's been provided. Yeah, I suppose the thing for me now is after this is summarising and compiling all my notes and
writing your own book.
No, not quite. More like actioning for myself at home, what to think about and add and subtract.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk about it today, hoping that next week, depending on how your weeks go, is to have some sort of plan. So maybe in sharing bits of each other's plans, then other people can get ideas. I was talking with someone today, and they said, he was just saying, I just need all your recipes. I just need recipe ideas. And I said, no. I said, that's the easy part. You need to know how I do what I do, not what I do. Yeah, because what I do, that's still important, but what I do, well, I don't eat animal products. I eat whole food, plant-based, all of these things, but that gives you not enough information. There's probably as much, if not slightly more information in how I do what I do. So how I make it work in my day, how I make it work over the week, how I make it work in the shopping centre, So the more you think about that, then the easier it is to implement those things. Did that make sense?
Yeah. So for example, like, what is my breakfast routine? What do I prep the night before, for example? How do you do lunch? How do you set up your shopping list? Is that what you mean?
Pretty much, yeah. And even down to, like we're saying, the how do I, because he said something like, you must spend ages chopping vegetables. I said, no, I spend like 15 minutes because I put it in my food processor and zip it all up at the moment.
It's sort of like we're trying to compile, because we've got a certain amount of information on how we've implemented this into our life. So we've got our toolbox, and we've learned stuff off you guys, even so much as, because we know what seeds to do and all the rest of it. Now we're going to go through and change all the nutritional information on the website for those diets, those eating plans, to now implement all the seeds and all the stuff that we believe everyone should try and have into their diets every day. So you would have come across different ways of getting across the same problems or different problems, things that you probably think, oh yeah, I've just done that, and you don't think anything of it. But that how you've overcome that problem, someone else might think that's gold and say, oh, I didn't even think of doing it that way. So if we can compile as much information like that, it just makes it easier for the next person, because they don't have to learn off our mistakes again. They can learn off our mistakes instead of making the same mistakes again, or just trying, or not even getting over it and giving up because they think it's too hard. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Sort of.
Oh.
Sort of. Just basically, if you know how I do what I do, how I make this work in our little life, then you take out what works for you and you make it work in your life. Because my life is slightly different to your life and my way of preparing and blah, blah, blah. So the more ideas you can get of how someone makes something work, it's like teaching someone to cook then it makes the doing of the knowledge. It's like you need to know how to do the knowledge. You know, there's knowing and then there's doing. They're different.
So, Christy, kind of a step up from that is like you have the how you're doing something, and then you kind of take the step up with why. If you have the why, you eventually learn the how, because you just keep pushing towards
absolutely. And that's like when, I don't know if you remember weeks ago how I talk about, that for me anyway, there's 5 pillars. Yeah. There's the environment, there's my health, there's economics, there's politics, and then there's morals. So they're my 5 reasons why. And I'd have to say, well, those 5 reasons allowed me to overnight stop eating meat. Yet those 5 reasons have allowed me to not buy chocolate because they don't fit in my whys. Whereas before, if it had just been my health, there's no way my health would have withstood a pre-menstrual want to have chocolate. Or a someone eating ice cream next to me or something. So those whys, you're right, because the whys are the most important, because otherwise a bunch of other reasons will come in, and then my emotional self will win. Because look at what's gone on the last few weeks. Rationale has been out of the window, and it's just emotion, reaction.
At least there's plenty of fruit and veg left on the shelves.
That's right.
I don't even want to start laughing about it. We can just wipe our bums with cabbage leaves. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Anyone got any other questions or something that they want to talk about now?
Is it?
Oh, hang on. Go, Jim.
Go, Jim. Yep.
Will, you're talking about your bread and butter.
Yep.
Is that because you take your lunch for work or something, or?
No, generally my lunches are cook dinner extra and take that to work. It's more like application. For example, I'm all about the foundation. Maybe bread is useless and it's not needed, and therefore I don't use bread. But if I'm having a soup, I used to always enjoy bread with butter on it, and I'm not trying to figure out the substitution. But the avocado looks like a good idea as any.
Yeah, because I make up a black bean paste.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
And just make up 1 can of black beans. Does me for a whole week, and I just put that on the Turkish bread and then mash avocado or something with it.
Yeah.
And use that base like lunch meat, like turkey or something like that.
Yep.
So still getting protein.
Yeah, and that you can do that with any bean, Will. If you didn't want the stronger flavour of the black bean, you could do it with white beans, which is less.
Okay, so you're talking about like drain the can, rinse it, just squash that into and spread it on.
Yeah, if you go to the Game Changers website, I think it's called a black bean tostada. There's a recipe for black bean mix there, but you can do that in a wrap or on a pizza or.
Yeah.
Funny, we just had it the other night. Invited to the neighbours, and she's Mexican. That's what we had on the tortillas. It was beautiful. Really nice.
I have in my Turkish bread and then mash avocado in with it, and spinach, tomato, grated carrot. There's lunch.
Yeah, and even like we sometimes will have, or I will have pesto on my bread if I'm having a toasted sandwich. I'll put pesto on it and then load it with vegetables and then eat that.
Yeah.
And the pesto base, if you haven't, I didn't like pesto before I came across this recipe, and it's basically the cashew nut with basil. Really simply, it's just the cashew nut with basil in it. And I make it and freeze it because, again, like you will, I've got stocks worth in the freezer. That's a really fantastic recipe. That definitely give it a go. You can have pesto on pasta, of course, pesto on potatoes, through a salad. So there's lots of ways to have that. So
speaking of freezing, actually, so when you batch freeze something, do you freeze it into multiple small containers, or do you put some sort of a partitioner?
Both. So if you open I'll do a little video and I'll send it to you of what my freezer looks like at the moment. So what it's basically got in it, it's got lunch meals for Powers in case, I haven't, it's not prepared, I die.
29 or something.
So he's got a pile of different, probably there may be at any one time, I'm hoping to have 3 or 4 different meals. So he's so Powers isn't eating the same thing essentially he is. It's beans, lentils and grains or something like that, but different flavours. So 3 or 4 different flavours of single meals for Powers. Then that
adds up to probably no less than 30 or 40 meals. So of all, different types.
And then I just rotate them. He takes from the old and I back up with the new, constantly keeping that going. And then I've got a tomato sauce base. So it's just the tomatoes and a sauce that I can then, so say I'm having I come home and I just want to make a pasta or even a lasagna, say, I just pull out the already made. So it's as simple as like opening a tin and tipping it on pasta. I've made up 10 litres. That's normally what I do. I have a really big pot. I make up 10 litres of whatever I'm making. So that's the tomato sauce. And then I freeze that into, for Mary Jane, small little one-off containers. So if she doesn't want to eat, if she wants pasta, she boils the pasta. She walks in, she's got a single serve of pesto or a single serve of tomato, or I've got like 1 meal family size for us.
Yep.
Or I've also got a slightly bigger one that I then use to make a fuller, like a lasagna.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got a big freezer.
We got 3 freezers.
4. Actually, we've got 4.
Sort of. Wow. One's half a freezer. It doesn't count. So, and then in my freezer now I've got lentil loaf, which I then have as a whole loaf. So, for instance, if I've got 1 in there now, so if we have a dinner party, which is probably not likely in the next little bit, but if we have people over, I just pull that out and eat it. Yeah, I've got 2 lasagnas, 2 big lasagnas. Again, pull that out, we can eat it. And then I've made those, chopped them up, and I've got single serves. So is that answering your question? So there's
exactly.
I just open the freezer and there's really, if I didn't want to cook, I could not cook for ages.
Yeah, Christy's got different size, almost like ice containers. So then she puts different sauces and different stuff in that. So they're one serving. So same for the pesto, it's like a big ice block. And she's done that. That's frozen, broken those out, put them in a Snaplock bag. So when Mary Jane comes home, she can just grab one of those cubes, put it in the microwave, heat that up, do a pasta, bang, dinner's done. So
you showed us those already. That was good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it's just figuring out how you already eat, and then build your prep around that. So you can walk in and have a single serve, or you can have a meal together, or a bigger serve. Even
so much as like Christy does up 3 loaves of bread at any one time. We have a bit of fresh bread because it'll be on the weekends. It'll be a treat day. We'll have a bit of fresh bread that day, and then you just get sliced up into slices into the freezer, done, and then it's toast. Mary Jane wants toast, or we want toast, or whatever. It's all there ready to rock and roll. So
cool.
And now for things like with your soup, if you're looking for alternatives to bread or toast, is of course your grains with your soup. or turning your soups into more of like a stew or risotto and cooking the grains in the soup. You can do that as well, yeah? You can add it after the fact. Once the soup is cooked, you can add it in. It's not any real difference. Or you could cook up a soup and put the grain in and then make it into more of like a stew or a risotto, a thick meal.
Okay, yeah, I just had lentil soup on top of a bed of rice just now.
Yeah. 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 Trying to think what else. Was that the question? Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, but prep is really important, I think, especially when so many people are working and there's not a lot of time. Because whole food prep is definitely more time consuming than if you just class it as vegan. Because you can buy products and tofu. I don't know if you guys have had much to do with tofu yet. Tofu will sit in the fridge marinating for 5 or 6 days. So we don't have tofu a lot, but when we do, I just chop up probably 2 of the 400 blocks, so 2 of the bigger blocks. I chop up 4 of those, marinate it either in one sauce or 2 different sauces, and then put it in the fridge just in snap-lock bags sometimes, or glass containers, either, and then make it as we use it. Cooked tofu can be frozen too. So when I make up a big fried rice, if I don't always put tofu in, but if I want it to be a bit more meaty, I wish there was another word to use, but there you go. If I wanted it to be a bit more meaty, I just chop tofu up a bit smaller and put that through it. Freezer's fine. All grains apart from white rice, grains don't freeze. So white rice doesn't freeze unless you fry it. You make it into a fried rice. And you can do fried rice with water if you've got a good pan. That didn't make sense, did it, Will?
So you said grain, so white rice can be frozen, all the rest of them, so brown rice and everything else can be frozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I just boil white rice and try to freeze it, it turns into mush. I mean, you can still eat it, but it's a bit
watery.
mushy.
It's a bit watery, the water that comes
But
out.
brown rice or any other grain that I've experienced thus far, I can just boil it, freeze it, it comes out, it's pretty good. But
I do freeze brown rice,
Yeah, white rice doesn't freeze. Similar to potato. Potato won't freeze unless it's like in a soup or something.
Sweet potatoes fine.
Sweet
Pumpkin's
potatoes fine.
Yeah.
So it's and sometimes if I'm not sure if something's going to freeze well, I just leave it in the fridge and freeze a little bit of it overnight and then check it the next day.
Oh yeah.
That's how I've just done. That's how I've tested. Not often, but that's just how I've tested it sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. How's everyone doing?
Yeah.
We're also the whole idea of having these meetings too. We're thinking about doing, like, once this is wrapped up, maybe doing a check-in every month or so, just sort of tying in and just seeing how everyone's going. It doesn't have to be just food. It can be about whatever's going on in your lives. You need a hand with your training, or ultimately it'll probably be food. And we'll see how everything's going with this virus. We still do our catch-up. We'll have to cancel that now, the movie night, until everything's cleared out. But so because we'll slowly build, the more challenges we do, we slowly get people to float in and out, but we'll build up and have a bit of a community going as well, a bit of a catch up.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So we'll check in again next week. Are you guys happy to do that? Do you want to do that? Don't feel obliged to. Yeah, just see, because if we just ride out the next couple of weeks, and then if there's any issues, we can all offer bits that have worked, and hopefully that will clear up any issues that maybe people are coming up with.
Yep.
All right.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah. Good night. Cheers, guys.
See you, Will. Sleep well.